Catherine Mann, in the jobs report, we've always had the U3, the U6, Chairman Greenspan's augmented unemployment rate, and then, the all-in unemployment rate. What's the unemployment rate right now of the United States of America?
Well, there are an awful lot of people who are on furlough. And I think one of the important questions going forward is how many of those furloughs turn into firings, because that's going to make the unemployment rate go even higher. And it's a more permanent situation, which is going to affect people's expectations and their consumption patterns. So, we've heard some announcements from some large hospitality and, of course, the airlines about going from furlough to firing. We've got small business arguing that, if there's not more assistance, they're going to go under. So, this jobs report is important, but I think, in terms of evaluations and so forth, we've got to look beyond just the what happened this week, to the longer term. And, the longer term is not looking good right now in terms of the support for consumption and therefore for business investment and growth in the U.S. economy.
Catherine, good morning from London. Are these jobs that are permanently lost, or are they jobs that, eventually will get back? Is it basically, companies going bust, or is it just companies downsizing?
Well, on the small business side of things, there's a lot of turnover in small business, but nevertheless, that time period between going bust and small business does go bust. They close up shop, the owners go away, and those jobs are in some sense lost to the churn, and the churn can be a very long time at the very low income levels as well. That's one of the problems here, is that the people who are at the lower income levels, the ones who are always on the edge, are the ones who are bearing a particular burden this time around. For the furloughs to firings, those, again, hospitality, airlines, those are still at quite a bit at risk. I mean, airlines are only at about 50% travel rates. And, if you ask people, are you worried about going to a large group gathering, 85 to 90% still say yes. So that's not good for going to entertainment or going to, the concert venues. That's bad for hospitality.
When you look, Catherine, at what happens in the next 3 to 4 months, so let's say that the rate of infection goes higher, are we going to lose more jobs rapidly? Or is the winter months the crucial months?
Well, I mean, what's interesting right now is that the winter months are coinciding with what many of the vaccine developers are saying are potentially very good months for perhaps coming through with a vaccine. So they're balanced between the winter months with the regular flu and the vaccine. That's an interesting balance to consider. But I do come back always to how do consumers respond? Just because there's a vaccine, does that really make them think that, yes, I'm going to go back and do the things I used to do before? Certain age groups seems to be, perfectly happy to go out there and mingle and have fun, and would go to the concert venues, would go to sporting events. But the older generation seems much more concerned. And when it comes right down to it, the old people have a lot more money than the young people do. And so that has implications for spending patterns.
Catherine Mann, linking in this job economy to aggregate demand and the greater sense of GDP, on the back end of the equation is a Catherine Mann variable, net exports. It's not very pretty right now. How large a dampening impact is this collapse of world trade going to be?
Well, actually, if coming from last month, I would say, trade was completely on the back foot. But our early warning indicator on the container throughput index does indicate that there is some coming off of the bottom. Now, I think we have to be very careful, because coming off of the bottom still means trade contraction of about 5%. Well, trade contraction of 5% is better than trade contraction of 15%, but it still does represent a contraction. And, this is a very important ingredient, not just for the United States, but also for a lot of other countries around the world. And so, collectively, this trade contraction is something that we are viewing as a very severe headwind to the global economy. It may improve a little bit, but again, this notion of rebound is a very different word than recovery. A rebound just means that you get back to where you used to be, and that wasn't a great place. We haven't made up any losses at this point. We're still in a hole.